Hi friends, welcome to our next video. In this video we will learn counting squares. So let us start counting squares. Look at this diagram. If this type of diagram comes in examination and there is one plus sign inside the square, then how many squares are there? If you count this way, 1, then 2, then 3, 4 and then 5. This way you can count, but it will take too much time. Okay, to save your timing you have to count in a short trick. So to know the short trick, stay on the video. So what is the process? Process is you have to number it 1, then 2, 3, then 4. Okay, then you have to add another one for this bigger triangle. So the total number is 4 plus 1, that means 5. So always remember, if there is one plus sign inside a square, how many squares are there? There are 5 squares. Okay, now in this figure, how many squares are there? There are many squares. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you will take too much time. Okay, so what is the short trick? Short trick is, first you have to give numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you have to write 6 into 4, the maximum number of rows. These are rows: first row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth and sixth. And these are columns. How many columns are there? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so how many rows are there? There are 6 rows. And how many columns are there? There are 4 columns. Now you have to write numbers in such a way that the next number is 1 less than 6. How much? 5 into. The next number is 1 less than 4, 3. So 5 into 3. So similarly we have to go by this way up to 0. So this is 4, then 2. 1 less than 5 is 4. 1 less than 3 is 2. Then 1 less than 4, 3. This is 1. 1 less than 3, 2, and 1 less than 1, this is 0. So 0, here we got 0. Now here you have to stop writing the numbers. Now we will calculate. Okay, 6 into 4, how much? 24. 5 into 3, 15. 4 into 2, 8. 3 into 1, 3. 2 into 0, 0. So how many squares are there? Now you add 8 plus 3, 11. 11 plus 15, 26. 26 plus 24, it is 50. So in total there are 50 squares in this diagram. Understood? So next type. In this diagram, if I ask you how many squares are there, can you count it? You can count it, but if I ask you to count it within few seconds, then you have to know the short trick. What is the short trick? Here you have to count how many squares are there. There are 1, 2, 3 squares. 1, 2 and 3 squares. Okay, so 3, and in previous example we have understood that if there is one plus sign inside a square, then for this plus there is 5 squares. So 5, 5, 5. How many? So this is 15. So 15 squares are there in total. Next diagram. In this diagram we have to count how many squares are there. So how? Here you give numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many rows are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. These are rows. How many columns are there? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so 4 into 4. And by the previous process, less than 4 means 1 less than 4 means 3. Here also 3. 1 less than 3, 2, 2. 1 less than 2, 1, 1. Okay, 16 equal to 16 equal to 9 equal to 4 equal to 1. So how much? 9 plus 1 10, 10 plus 4 14, 14 plus 16 30. Okay, so we got 30. Now we have to remember that there is another squares inside these squares which contain plus sign. Here you look, there is a plus sign inside this square. There is another plus sign inside this square also. Here also there is plus sign inside this square. Here also there is plus sign inside this square. So for this square, this square, this square and this square, we have to take 5 squares, 5 squares, 5 squares and 5 squares. That means 5 into 4. That means 20 squares. Okay. So in total, how many squares are there? There are 20 plus, this is 30. So how many squares? There are 50 squares. Understood? Very interesting, guys. Very interesting. So for competitive exams, for rail, for banking, for combined staff selection. Okay. So these questions are very, very important. Okay. Now next diagram. In this diagram, how many squares are there? Okay, I have already said that if there is a plus sign inside a square, then for this plus sign we have to count 5 squares. And look, another square is there, this square. So we have to add another one. So here we got 6 squares. Okay. In this diagram, you look how many this type of squares are there. There are 1 square, there are 2 squares. Okay. So for this square we have to count 6. For this square we have to count another 6. And inside this square there is a square, but inside this square there is no such squares like kite. Okay. So we have to count only 5. Inside this square there is only plus sign, so we have to count 5. So in total there are 12 plus 5, that means 17 squares. Understood? We have to count how many squares are there. Okay. So here I am first numbering the rows and columns. Okay. 1 2 3 4, 2 3 4. There are 4 rows, 1 2 3 4, 1 column, 2 3 4. So number of squares, number of rows are 4 and number of columns are also 4. So 4 into 4, 3 into 3, 2 into 2, 1 into 1, 0 into 0. That means 16, 9, 4, 1, 0 means 30. Okay. If you take these 4 points, this is another square, isn't it? This is another square of 4 rows and 4 columns. Understood or not? 4 rows, 1 2 3 4, 4 columns, 1 2 3 4, 4 columns and 4 rows. So for this square we have to take another 30 squares. So 30 plus 30, this 30 and this 30. Understood? Here you look, this is a square, this is another square. So here we got 2 squares, here we got another 2 squares, here we got another 2 squares, here also we got another 2 squares. Understood? So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, 8. Okay. Now another 4 squares are there. If you look, then this is a square, this is a square, this is a square and this is also a square. So plus 4. So how much? 72 squares are there in total. So this square is calculated, this square is calculated, and excluding this square, these two squares, these squares are also calculated. So here there are no extra squares which are remaining. So friends, if you like my video, please let me know in the comment box, and also like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.